disruption. Didn't have a fast enough clock either. The clock was pretty good, but it certainly was not fast enough.
You won a bunch of game ones, and post-board, the matchup got harder for you, but not intolerably so. Now you have a bad game 1 and an even worse games 2 and so forth.
Yeah. Both players on 6 cards, and we are underway here. Blue to Delta will start things off here for pick. He'll sacrifice that, go down to 19 as round number 8 is underway here from Indianapolis.
And the real trick for this matchup from the Teamer Delver side is opening up on a piece of pressure and then holding up a wall of counter spells. Storm can power through even a lot of counters if given enough time with discard spells, just making land drops to make the soft counters worse. So it's really important to open up on Delver of Secrets. You'll take Nimble Mongoose just so you're attacking and shrinking the length of the game.
A Volcanic Island into a Ponder here for pick. Tarmogoyf, Wasteland, Polluted Delta, the cards that Jesse is taking a look at.
That'll play. I mean, that's land number 2 in a Tarmogoyf.
The clock is so important.
Yeah.
Again, Pick's going to keep these cards.
Not perfect. You'd prefer Delver of Secrets, but with the days in hand, this is a good setup for Jesse.
Wienburg going to draw his card. He'll start by sacrificing a Polluted Delta of his own. So down to 19, we'll see what land he wants to search up. There's an Underground Sea. Not much of a surprise there, though. And what's a little bit different about this now, too, is, the lands that you search up, you have to actually be quite thoughtful about, because, again, Wasteland is a card that's back in this format in a big way.
Yeah, there were practically no Wastelands in the Treasure Cruise format. Again, another card that just didn't make very much sense with people powering through their deck so fast. Deathrite Shaman is also commonly paired with Wasteland, and we saw far fewer Deathrite Shamans as well. But I would expect there to be a huge uptick in Wastelands now, with the format reverting close to what it was before.
Here's a Ponder, and we'll head back Jesse's way. Tarmogoyf the draw, of course. Does have a Stifle in hand. I suppose the question is, does he have a second mana? It doesn't look like he does just yet.
He has a Delta, but he's electing, I think, here to Ponder. He knows there's a Wasteland there. Unfortunately, he's committed to keeping another land after this.
Kind of hard to pass up Wasteland here, though. I don't think he's going to. Yep. I'll head back Wienburg's way. Wienburg draws a copy of Dark Ritual. That's what's so different now before, where Wienburg's land would be safe in the previous Legacy format. Things have changed.
And because of the nature of Storm, you do have to be pretty aggressive in getting your dual lands, because you need to cast blue cantrips and black discard spells or ritual effects, and often you only have one land to work with. So it's really a luxury to be able to play around Wasteland with this deck. Not every draw allows you to do it.
There's an island. This is a Ponder. So Ben will take a look at the top 3 cards. You do have to consult quite a bit, of course, in playing Storm. The first couple of turns methodical, and then there's just one big, huge swell of things happening.
And there's so many different things he has to play around now with a Wasteland being revealed here. You can probably put Jesse on Teamer Delver. And so now you know Daze is on the table, Force of Will's on the table, possibly Spell Pierce, possibly Stifle. And if Ben trips up here, given that he's already been knocked back a little bit by this Wasteland, it's going to be hard for him to assemble the critical mass he needs to go off.
And for someone who's played Teamer Delver for such a long time like Ben has, you have to imagine he knows what he's up against now.
Yeah.
Not a lot of decks do what has happened thus far in the game. We'll see if Pick wants to get that clock on the table now. Now here's Tarmogoyf. So that's the winning combination. A little bit of disruption. And then you get your clock out there. And then you get to work, because Tarmogoyf right now is just a boring old 2/3. Just some sorceries and lands.
Yeah, nothing but ponders and lands thus far.
Yeah.
I would have just assumed it was at least a 3/4 by now, but nope, just a 2/3.
So the shields are down, one could say, here for pick, as Wienburg's going to play a copy of Lotus Petal.
It's not really that hard for Storm to overpower just a Daze.
Well, if Ben doesn't believe he has a Force of Will, and it looks like he doesn't, he's going to get moving here. Now here is a Daze. Now this is an interesting time to cast this, because now he can cut Ben from blue mana.
That's the hope. I mean, at this point, all the Daze will ever do is trade with the mana. So you might as well hope that the island specifically matters.
Yep. So 3 black floating, a couple of spells cast. How badly does this screw up Wienburg's turn is the question. It does add to the storm count. That's something to be cognizant of, as Wienburg's going to play another Dark Ritual, perhaps. Yes, he will. So down to 2, up to 5. Now it's time for an Infernal Tutor. So 3 black floating. And he will reveal, a Lion's Eye Diamond.
So this is the fun alternate kill here, where you Infernal Tutor with your Lion's Eye Diamond, go get another Lion's Eye Diamond, crack the Lion's Eye Diamonds with Past in Flames in your hand already. Then you can pay for the flashback. You already got a ritual in your graveyard, you get started again. We already have an Infernal Tutor in the graveyard. Our hand is now empty.
Life's easy.
Just how you drew it up.
And at this point, Ben has already made his move, so it's not like he's going to slow down and play around Force of Will.
Yeah, you might see him Infernal Tutor for another Lion's Eye Diamond because it's +1 mana. And if he's already in the spot where he's saying, well, I'm not beating Force of Will no matter what, so why not?
Yeah. 1 black left. Another Lion's Eye Diamond coming.
You know, Demonic Tutor for Black Lotus and then Demonic Tutor for another Black Lotus.
I see no problem here.
Use them to cast Yawgmoth's Will.
Yeah, what's the problem?
Not even restricted.
This is something anyone can do.
You can do this right now. At your kitchen table with your friends, you can play 4 copies of all these cards.
You know where else you can do that? SCG Game Night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. Past in Flames got to be flashback here. Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual. Crack. This Lion's Eye Diamond, play Infernal Tutor. Lots of drills coming. Ten of them. 10 drills of agony going to get the job done here for Ben. Up a game here over Jesse Pick, playing Teamer Delver, as Jesse shows him a copy of Stifle and saying, maybe I should have left some mana up.
Well, he's got to cast the Tarmogoyf eventually.
True.
You know, you can't sit there all day with just a Daze and a Stifle. These Storm decks play discard spells, so I know, Jesse, you can go back and say, yeah, if he sat on Stifle, then maybe Ben can't win, but you know, at that point, he's under no pressure. He can go get Ad Nauseam and just kill you that way at 20 life and find discard spells. So I think Jesse played it correctly, even though it looks pretty bad to die to a Storm card with a Stifle in your hand.
Well, let's take a look at the sideboards here first and foremost. We will start with picks, and he has a Crozing Grip, an Ancient Grudge, 2 Rough Tumble, 2 Pyroblast, 2 Flusterstorm, a Sulfur Elemental, 2 Submerge, a Severe Vortex, a Pith Needle, and 2 copies of Grafdigger's Cage. You said it. Doesn't get any easier.
Soft counter. The counters here, the 2 Pyroblast, they're not super solid, but anytime you trade 1 for 1 against Storm, that's a victory. 2 Flusterstorms are great. And the 2 copies of Grafdigger's Cage do a little bit of work against the Past in Flames kill. So given that there's 4 copies of Lightning Bolt and 2 Fork Bolts, that's a very easy 6-for-6 swap.
Well, how about on Ben's side?
3 copies of Surgical Extraction, a Massacre, 2 copies of Pyroclasm, 2 Abrupt Decay, 2 Defense Grid, 2 Chain of Vapors, and Empty the Warrens, 2 copies of Dark Confidant. So there's some stuff to like here. I like bringing in the 1 copy of Empty the Warrens because it's probably a kill against Teamer Delver most of the time. Requires a little bit less setup than the Tendrils kill because you can empty for, say, a Storm of 6. That's going to be good enough to win the game most of the time. I like the 2 copies of Defense Grid here, as most of the disruption Jesse is going to be bringing to the table are counter spells, and it's really hard for him to leave 3 mana up because this deck is all about operating on low resources. The 2 Abrupt Decays may come in here. They do answer some of the threat cards here, but Ben's not really in the market to trade 1 for 1. He's trying to overpower Jesse to not interact with him, so maybe the Abrupt Decays come in, but I wouldn't do too much past the 2 copies of Defense Grid and the Empty the Warrens.
Well, we talked about how you can be casting Demonic Tutor for Black Lotus for Yawgmoth's Will.
several times, twice in the same turn.
Yeah, if you can do that at SCG game night, and you know what? Any night of the week too.
Exactly. Assuming that it is Legacy, your store can run these any night of the week. We send you these kits with these foil tokens and these pins. You distribute them to your players. Too late to get signed up for the February kit, but if you want to get signed up for March, head over to StarCityGames.com/game night or contact your Star City Games organized play representative. It's been a very successful program. Some fun and friendly organized play at the local level. Doesn't even have to be sanctioned. Just get players in your store.
And come on, who doesn't want that wolf? Were we kidding?
Yeah. Frolicking in a glade. Delighted to be here, just like me and you.
And if it came across us, it would probably bite us, but that's neither here nor there.
Right.
We shouldn't be in the glade frolicking with the wolf.
Exactly.
So it's probably our fault.
Yep.
There you go.
Correct.
Every week in February, you can get the wolf tokens and pins. March kit, you can sign up for that still, as Patrick did mention, and well, we don't know what's going to be available there, though. I've got a sneaking suspicion.
Could play some pickup games of Storm, you know? Maybe not make a lot of friends, but have a good time.
But you can do that if you want.
Yeah.
It was always tough for me to get a pickup game with someone when I was playing Belcher.
Yep.
Just no one was really interested.
So one of my very good friends from high school is now dating a Magic player.
Okay.
And they occasionally watch the broadcast together.
Okay.
And at the Open in Los Angeles several years ago, Legacy Open, I lost in top 8 against Storm, got killed on the first turn. And I got a text from my friend, Jessica, and said, David wanted to tell you that he doesn't know what your opponent was doing, but that wasn't Magic. Which I thought was great. He's more of, he's been playing Magic for a long time, but not a tournament player, plays with his buddies, the occasional draft, that sort of thing.
Sure.
And felt that my opponent was clearly unsportsmanlike for killing me on the first turn with a bunch of dark rituals.
Well, that's not very nice.
Can't disagree with him.
It's not very sporting.
Cannot disagree with him.
I can't imagine you enjoyed the experience.
Someone's got to lose.
Yes.
It was at least over fast.
That's how you like it. Get you dead.
Yeah.
What are we even doing sitting here?
Yep, at least it was over fast.
I miss the days of millstoning someone out where it was hopeless for them to win.
Mm-hmm.
As you have forbid with buyback and who knows what else, and a milling them 2 cards at a time.
That's what caused me to put down the Magic cards for a little while in high school.
Really?
Capsize. Targeted by Darrellor over and over again. My Scalebane's Elite.
You just couldn't take it? You just snapped one day?
Yeah.
Was it anyone in particular? Is this like Osip or Gerard
No,
doing this to you?
Just local guy at the store. And he couldn't be happier. Just playing lands and bouncing all my permanents. I think he could eventually kill me. I want to say with Stalking Stones. I don't really recall, but...
I'm hoping it was Rainbow of Freet.
No, because then your opponent might be able to profitably use a creature removal spell. So it's got to be...
Sure.
Got to be lands, or just the submission hold.
There's a ponder to start things off for pick. So no Delver and Ember Mongoose to get the thing started here for Teamer Delver. So important when playing in Storm. It's here's a Gataxian Pro over Wienburg. A Polluted Delta, a Fluster Storm, a Tropical Isle, and a Ponder, a Daze, and a Spell Pierce. A lot of solid ones there. Just need the clock.
Again, this is a good disruption package here. If there was a creature in this hand, instead of, say, land number 3, this is about to be about as good as Jesse could draw it up. But still need that piece of pressure.
See if Ben's got any action here. Nice little Ponder. So we'll consult the grip as Ben does reorganize the cards from the Ponder. And that is done resolving. Pickle Draw. Force of Will. Not too bad at all. There's a Delta. We'll sacrifice that. So a Volcanic or a Trop coming here momentarily.
This is also the type of hand now. Now Jesse's probably going to be able to win a fight over it, but it's very susceptible to defense grid. You know that Ben's got some of his sideboard, but if a defense grid sticks, his hand's not worth very much.
And this is the kind of card in defense grid that forces a battle.
Yep. And it's one of the merits of playing Sultai Delver versus Teamer Delver. Teamer Delver can really only go to counter spells as disruption against combo decks, but the discard spells on top of counter spells means that a defense grid's a lot less problematic for you than it is the Teamer builds of this deck.
It's a ponder here from Pick. Brainstorm, a volcanic, and a tropical.
Yeah, and he can't keep a hand with, he can't keep a ponder there with no pressure, no way to shuffle, a Brainstorm and 2 lands.
Nah, those cards have got to go. It's going to be a mystery card here. It's going to be a good one, too. Delver or Nibble Mongoose off the top would be a delight. Didn't get a great look at it. But all Pick can do is just pass the turn back, so it must not be there. Infernal True to the draw. Pluto Delta here for Wienburg. Pick will draw. There is land number 3 in Volcanic Island. And Mongoose has shown up.
Yep. I mean, it's slow. He's, I believe, 4 cards in graveyard right now, so it's still going to take a while. But, again, at least it is something.
There's a Brainstorm in a turn from Ben. Ben with quite a few cards in hand at this point, as Jesse does inquire about how many he's holding. And the Brainstorm will resolve. So he'll add 3 more to the grip, but of course we'll have to put 2 back.
So that's a spot where I feel like I would have cast the Spell Pierce there. Ben's going to be able to shuffle his deck, so the Brainstorm's quite powerful. It gets another card in the graveyard, so it takes a lot less for Jesse to get to Threshold for the Nimble Mongoose, which should be a pretty big goal here. And the most important thing is I've just found that the soft counter spells fall off a cliff really fast against Storm. They get to a point where they can power through even Spell Pierce. So I think you add it all up there, and that's a spot where, if I'm Jesse, I would have picked a fight there and tried to gone after the Brainstorm.
Always tough to figure out when to pick the fights.
It's hard. Spell Pierce is better than Daze, and so there's more of incentive of saying, let Ben set up a hand and then go ahead and then use your counter spells over the big fight and leave it with nothing, but I would not have let Brainstorm resolve there.
Well, it's done resolving now. And now Ben will sacrifice his Pluto Delta to make it a perfect Brainstorm. Ben very patiently wondering if he can search, as he has played with Stifle before and knows that he's playing against it. It's funny, it was a minor thing with Jesse showing that to him at the end of the game, but Ben may not have known that was in his deck.
For sure.
So that's something that a player of Ben's caliber can pick up on and move forward with.
Stifle is not a guaranteed 4 of in these Teamer Delver lists.
Some players absolutely hate the card in this deck.
I was never a huge fan myself. I acknowledge it has moments of being the best.
Of course.
But overall, not a card I'm really interested in playing with.
Wienburg will draw. Delta comes in. Perhaps it'll be time for more Cantrip in just a minute. And it is another Brainstorm.
And now we've hit the stage of the game. This is part of what I was worried about, where that Spell Pierce will only trade with mana.
Yeah.
It's never going to actually counter something unless Ben doesn't care about it at all.
Taxing Probe among the cards here. Ben's going to put 2 back, so Brainstorm's done resolving. I wonder if we're going to see him make a move here or not. It's quite the wall he'll have to make a move through, and he's got an idea of what's over there already. But he's reaching for some mana.
What's working in Ben's favor right now is not that much pressure. He has time to build up a hand.
He has time to build up a hand, but that also means Jesse has time to build up a hand too.
Yes. Though Jesse's hand's unlikely to get much better than this.
Here's a Tarmogoyf.
Now we're cooking from Jesse's side of the table. this is really going to amplify the power of all of his counter spells.
Yeah.
4 a turn is very different than 1 a turn in terms of how fast Ben has to move.
Attack there for 1 from the Mongoose. Tropical Island. Counter spells at the ready. Force of Will, Daze, Fluster, Storm, and Spell Pierce. See if Wienburg can navigate his way through this. We've seen versions of Storm do this before when they have Silence and Orange Chant and stuff like that. But, you know, those versions of the deck, we really don't see them very much anymore.
Yeah, it's rare. I think they're also going to be even more rare because we're going to be moving into more of a Wastelands type of format, and splashing is going to get harder and harder.
Yeah. Wienburg going to survey things here. Attacks and Probe is going to let him know what the heck is going on. Probe is so interesting in this situation too because it lets you know what's going on, but it also adds to the storm count for Fluster Storm.
Yep. Well, I think that Ben's going to be hard pressed to move through this wall of counter spells this turn anyway.
It's going to be pretty tough. We have seen some great plays from some great players over the years when they are playing Storm against counter walls. Adam Prozac does come to mind. Ross Merriam too when we were in Philadelphia, but this is a tough one to get through.
Yeah, this is asking a lot. And it's all different names too, so, you know, the Cabal therapies that are hanging out on Ben's list, they aren't quite as effective.
Duress. And Jesse just has to let it resolve. So we'll see what card Ben wants to take here.
I mean, Ben's got a lot of mana to work with. There's effectively 2 hard counter spells in the hand here, in Force of Will and Fluster Storm. But the Daze and the Spell Pierce are unlikely to matter that much in the scheme of things. If Ben has another discard spell, he's probably going to be able to punch through all of that. And you can look at that hand. There's 2 Dark Rituals, there's 2 Lotus Petals.
He's casting 1 of Lotus Petals.
I mean, I think Ben might be making a move. I don't think he would just cast a Lotus Petal here when he's playing a Storm deck.
Here's a Spell Pierce.
And at this point, Ben has the option of just saying, okay, Spell Pierce resolves, pay for it, your turn. Now you're just on Force of Will and Daze, and next turn I can probably go off through that.
Yeah, then you have to draw a blue card, most likely. Here's Dark Ritual in response to the Spell Pierce. We see this play sometimes. Now here's Force of Will removing Daze. So Jesse picking his battle here over these cards, and if you're Ben, you got to be thrilled.
Yeah, he's just trying to stop the mana at this point.
Yeah.
It also gets him to Threshold.
Yep.
Getting an artifact in the graveyard is nice for the purposes of Tarmogoyf. There's some, ancillary bonuses to this line of play, but he's just hoping that Ben can't win next turn.
And Ben might be able to win. Okay, well, Ben might be able to win this turn.
Oh!
Lotus Petal, Lion's Eye Diamond. Ben doing a count of how many spells have been cast. Sacrificing the petal. Here's a Dark Ritual. This is an Infernal Tutor.
Hey,
Stack it, crack it.
I mean, he's got it.
Yeah. Tendrils, Gunya. Yeah, that's all you can do. Ben Wienburg's going to win this match here over Jesse Pick. 2-0, making it look easy with Storm. He's 8-0.
And if you go back, when I talked about Spell Piercing the Brainstorm, you kind of saw why.